We are here at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center on a workshop day in January. It's not raining, it's cloudy, it's threatening rain, but it's still a beautiful day. And we are enjoying the winter interest, if you will, here in the blueberry patch of the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center. Blueberries, a great, tasty, small berry to grow. I have probably a cup of blueberries every morning with my breakfast, and it's very healthy for you. And blueberries in the ground or in containers are a great way to go. We are talking with Master Gardener Ann Moore. And Ann, let's talk about all the different varieties you have here. Now, we're in USDA Zone 9, where Southern highbush blueberries are recommended. So why don't we start on one end and work our way back and talk about each of these varieties of blueberries to grow. Now, usually the harvest time for these is here in USDA Zone 9 is probably May and June?
Starting in May, and we've actually gone into July last year.
All right. Well, the first one we come to is one of my favorite early and mid-season blueberries. That's a Southern highbush. I guess first of all, we better explain the difference between Southern highbush and Northern highbush. Southern highbush is which is the easiest to grow here. Northern highbush, I guess, are the ones you would find in Michigan or Washington or back east.
Correct. Right. And they need a little bit more chill hours usually than the Southern highbush.
Maybe not 100-degree temperatures.
Yeah. Though you'll see we've had success with some Northern highbush, and I can tell you which ones those are.
All right. Okay. So stay tuned for that. But this first one is one of my favorites that I have had in my garden for 25 years or so, and that's Jubilee.
Correct. Now, this is just a 1-year-old plant, so we don't have a lot of experience with it yet, but it's real common in the nursery, and it's really recommended for our area to do very well.
One of the criteria, if you start growing blueberries, you'll realize that one of the criteria is you really want to choose a blueberry variety that produces pretty good-sized blueberries because they're a lot easier to pick than the really small ones. Jubilee's pretty good size. Next up on the list here in the blueberry section at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center is the star blueberry. Tell us about the star.
It's been here quite a while and done very well. It fruits early in the season, so we'll see this starting in May. And it is a Southern highbush. It does very well, very tasty, and I think it has a good-sized berry.
Also, here in USDA Zone 9, we should point out that not all blueberries lose their leaves. Some leaves persist. And the star blueberry has these now reddish leaves clinging to the plant. A lot of winter interest there.
Yeah, they're really pretty.
So that's one thing to consider, too, about the blueberries is, does it lose its leaf or not? And if it doesn't, it's something to look at.
Correct.
All right, moving down the list here. Another one of my favorites is Sunshine Blue that you have here. Oh, look at all the buds on it. Here it is January, and it's got buds, and yet it is a mid-season variety.
Yeah, now this is also a relatively young plant. We planted this, it's probably just coming into its third year. So we're expecting to start to see a good amount of berries on here. We've just been kind of nurturing it and even taking the berries off till now to just help it get stabilized. It's a beautiful green and really lush looking. And we're going to prune it, but we probably won't prune it hardly at all since it's so young. Just next month we'll do this, take out the old branches or dying branches, but as you can see, it's just really beautiful. I don't think there's much that we need to do to it.
Let's talk a little bit about pruning blueberries. What you want to do, as you suggest, is remove the old wood. Usually it's the 3-year-old wood or greater of age because they get less productive as they get older.
Absolutely. And if you just want to keep encouraging new growth, and that's where the life is in the plant. Your plant will live a lot longer if most of the plant is young wood versus older wood as well.
And when you take out an old branch, you take it down to ground level, don't you?
Absolutely. And then you start seeing the structure of the plant. And that really helps you figure out if you need to make any more pruning cuts or not.
Yeah, and that is best done probably in wintertime?
Yeah, we hope to prune next month if it's not too rainy and crazy, but in the next month or two is when we should be doing it. And you can see there's already buds on these plants, so we want to cut it now, and so we're not cutting off all those future berries.
And moving on, here is another evergreen blueberry, Southern highbush variety called Abundance. I have had no experience growing Abundance. Tell us about that.
Well, we've had this plant for a long time, and it truly is abundant. It's putting up lots of new plants. Actually, in past years, we've lost some plants. We've actually been able to take some new babies from this plant and put them and regrow them. So it's very abundant. It's got lots and lots of berries, good size, really tasty. But I do have to say, I think this is a hard one to find. A few of our plants here we've gotten from real special sources, and we really can't help you find them. You'd have to go online if you're really serious about it. This is actually I think this is probably 3 plants here right now that we've just allowed to grow, and we could dig them up and plant them somewhere else and they would do fine. These actually have come up from the root.
What time of year would you do that?
I think either late fall or early spring is when you want to do stuff like that.
Okay, so you dig out what you can see as a new plant coming up and just sever the roots, leave some roots on, but just enough to get it out of the ground and then put it in a new home.
Absolutely. Our experience is blueberries are really forgiving plants. I mean, they can take a lot of pruning. They come back a lot of times after a hard summer. So they're really hardy plants.
Let's talk about the home for a blueberry. They like acid soil.
Absolutely. That's probably one of the most important things when you're growing blueberries. I think it's one thing that people sort of don't like to do, but they need acidic soil pH between 4.5 and 5.5. And that pH is what allows them to actually absorb iron from the ground, which is what they need to produce really great berries. So if you're planting in the ground, the best way to do that, I wasn't around when we planted all these plants that are in the ground, but you actually need to go a few months ahead of time and actually mix in. There's a whole formula that we have on our website. Mix in some additives of soil, let it break down so that you can create more of an acidic environment. And then every year after that, we're always measuring the pH of all of our soil and adding soil sulfur to constantly manage the pH of the soil, because our soil in Sacramento tends to be around 7, and they need 4.5 to 5.5. Now, I'd add, when we're planting in barrels, it's a whole lot easier because then you can just buy a big bag of azalea soil, which is made for acidic plants, and plant in that. Or we have a recipe on our website of what you can mix together of different kinds of soils and soil additives to make the soil that they like.
You have to be patient with soil sulfur when you add it because it takes a couple of months for it to actually start lowering the pH.
Yes. Yeah. And we actually we're going to measure in March. We do it in March of every year. Note that down, and we'll add half of the soil sulfur in March and then another half in the fall. So we're kind of pacing ourselves because it's a slow release additive, and we just really want to make sure you have a steady.
You mentioned the soil mix recipe if you're growing it in containers, and big containers like cattle watering troughs, for example, with holes in the bottom are a great way to go for growing a plant like a blueberry to get it up to its eventual height of 4 feet, 5 feet or more. But usually they're around 3, 4, 5 feet. But that mix, as I recall, and it's the mix I use on my blueberries, would be 1/3 of that azalea soil mix, 1/3 pathway bark, and 1/3 of an acidic soil amendment like peat moss, for example. Just make sure it's all thoroughly wetted before you use it. That's a good combination to use. The other thing, too, about growing blueberries in containers, does it need to be revitalized every few years? Should you empty that container out and put in fresh soil?
Well, we haven't had our barrels that long, so we're certainly not at that stage. But I do have barrels at home that I've had for 7 or 8 years, and they're doing fine. I do really pay attention to how much I fertilize them because I think over time, when you're in a container, the planting materials get kind of leached out. So you might think over time of changing your fertilizing regimen and maybe fertilizing more often with a mixture of kelp and fish emulsion or something really diluted, but just to help keep replenishing that soil.
You mentioned my favorite fertilizer formula there of fish emulsion and kelp meal for a full array of macro and micronutrients, but in little doses, unlike a lot of commercial products. In fact, commercial products, I think some of your favorite blueberry growers may shy away from synthetic fertilizers just because of the salts in them, and they prefer organic fertilizers for growing blueberries.
Yeah, we do that as well here.
All right, now this next one in the row of blueberries here at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center is a northern highbush. And again, the northern highbush blueberry plant is a favorite in cooler climates like Washington, Michigan, and back east. Tell us about northern highbush and the Duke blueberry.
Well, this plant is really, really vigorous. We prune it really severely every year. And if you could see this plant right now, it just has so many stems. It's just got it's more dense growth than any of our other plants. It has a really nice medium-sized light blue berry, and it does well every year. And it's no leaves, it's completely naked, but you can see lots of buds. I think we're going to have a really good year here.
And it's an early producer.
Yeah.
What time of year do you usually harvest this?
This is an early season. So like I said, we usually start in May. Every year is a little bit different depending on the weather. We were a little bit late last year because we had the sun didn't come to us as soon last year. But by mid-May, we were usually seeing berries.
What's nice here at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center is there's information about each of the varieties of plants that are growing here, and usually a picture of them, too, when they're in full production. And this picture and description of the Duke blueberry, those look like good-sized blueberries.
Yeah, and they're really good. We're a favorite.
Now, here's one, and it's an interesting variety. It's called pink lemonade blueberry, but it's not necessarily a southern highbush, not necessarily a northern highbush. It's something in between.
Yeah, it's a hybrid of a variety called a rabbit eye. It's the only mixed with a southern highbush. And it's a really interesting plant. This was new to us. This is just coming into its third year. We haven't had many berries yet, but I think we will this year. It's pink. People just love them because they're really beautiful. I'm not sure that they're as tasty as some of the others, but I think it's just really an interesting plant that you see a lot in the nursery. So we just wanted to grow it so we can have an example.
The picture on the label of the berry itself, it almost looks like a pyracantha berry or a toyon berry, and that would take little fingers to pick.
Yeah, maybe you're right. And actually, the plant was taken by one of our members, and that's from her yard, so you can see she's getting a good harvest there.
Well, we knew the weather was going to change today here in January at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center, and it's starting to drip, so we'll finish up quickly here with the blueberries. Here's another northern highbush one called Northland. Tell us about Northland.
Once again, this is doing really well. It's a plant we've had quite a long time. You can see it's got a lot of growth on it. It has had a little bit of stem blight in the past, but we were able to just prune it out, and it seems to be coming back just fine. It does really well. Has a really nice berry on it. It's a mid-season berry, so it's a little bit later, probably June-ish before it starts. We start to get a good harvest, but it's been here a long time, and we're really happy with it.
All right. And finally, a southern highbush variety here on the end. Another variety that I grow year after year called Sharp Blue.
Right. Now, this is, once again, just coming into its third year, but look at how lush it is. It's got lots of green leaves and lots of blossoms already on it. It's one that does really great in our area. We expect it to become ripe in probably in May, an early season, and we chose this because it's really known to do really well in our area. It's something that's readily available to the public, and so we just really want to be able to demonstrate that here.
And I will agree with what it says on the sign here. Produces large berries with good color and excellent flavor. Sharp Blue is probably one of my all-time favorites, too. You know, as we were walking through this row of blueberries here, it just so happens there's another row of blueberries behind us. Well, let's talk about these. All right, I forgot. Yeah, Georgia Gem, that's a southern hybrid.
Yeah, this is really a favorite. They're not the biggest berries in the world, but in past, when we've had tasting tests, this has often been a favorite. The public really likes this berry. It's an early season berry. We've had quite a long time, and it's done well, survived some serious sun issues, and just popped back and seems to be doing well. It is a plant that's sort of hard to find. You'd have to really search for it, but we're really happy with it.
The Georgia Gem Blueberry. And next to it is another tried and true variety here in USDA Zone 9, the southern highbush, the Misty.
Yeah, this is one we've had for a while. I think it's actually had some serious challenges in the past because it was planted in an area that we discovered wasn't getting water as much as it needs. But look, it looks beautiful. It's just, like I said, it's a really resilient plant, and it's looking really beautiful with lots of leaves, and we see some blossoms already. It's an early season plant and has really great berries. It's one of those that does really well here and is really easy to get a hold of.
All right. And I think this is the last blueberry.
Yeah.
It's the Ozark Blue.
Once again, this is an unusual one, but people really like the flavor. They're really tasty, and so it's worth If you want to do something out of the norm, it's worth finding it, but you'll have to search. This is a mid-season plant, so it's a little bit later in season, but prolific, and we've been very happy with it. We've had it quite a long time.
Yeah, we should point out that blueberry plants here in California are one of the first fruit varieties to hit the nurseries, usually in late December and January. As you go to colder climates, they'll start appearing in your nurseries a little bit later in the year, but shop early for best selection.
Yeah, absolutely. They're there now, and they do sell out sometimes.
Wow, we've learned a lot about blueberries today from Ann Moore, Master Gardener here in Sacramento County. We're at the Fair Oaks Horticulture Center, where now the rain is getting serious. Ann, thank you for braving this with me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, free subscribers to the Beyond the Garden Basics newsletter and podcast. We have many more tips about choosing, planting, harvesting, and pruning blueberry plants, as well as the health benefits of adding blueberries to your diet. But to hear the rest of the podcast, and there's about 20 more minutes of it, you need to become a paid subscriber. Among the topics talked about after the paywall in the podcast and newsletter includes alternative blueberry pruning advice from fruit expert Tom Spellman, how to construct an easy protection system around your blueberries to keep them safe from birds as well as four-legged creatures. We have more ideas for growing blueberries in containers. And also, what makes blueberries a superfood? What is that substance in blueberries that's great for controlling diabetes and heart disease? Again, that extended podcast, as well as a complete transcript, is available in the newsletter, and it's only available to paid subscribers. And adding a subscription to the Beyond the Garden Basics is reasonably priced, $5 a month or $50 a year. Besides the complete newsletter, transcript, and podcast, paid subscribers also get access to the entire library of past newsletter editions, which now numbers near 300. Paid subscribers also get to leave comments and get their garden questions answered. Plus, your paid subscription lets me know that I'm doing something worthwhile here, that you find of value, even if it is only occasionally. The Beyond the Garden Basics podcast. It comes out once a week on Fridays. So thanks for becoming a paid subscriber. Just click on the subscribe link in the newsletter to keep the good research-based gardening information coming your way. And don't forget that when you do, you'll get the entire podcast and the complete newsletter, including the transcription. Thank you for listening and reading the Beyond the Garden Basics newsletter and podcast.